Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Muzzle Is Off Podcast. I am your host, Nakia Monet, and we have two very special guests with us tonight. And they're special to me because we all are family. These are my two cousins, and we are going to discuss basically as a family. We're going to bring y'all into our family discussion so that y'all can understand that sometimes when you go through things, you actually go through things as a family. And sometimes you don't feel as comfortable discussing exactly how you feel when you have gone through it. And sometimes what happens is that we don't really share our raw emotion to where people can actually understand this actually hurt. And a lot of the times we mask it because we have to mask it with a smile. We have to mask it with fake joy. We have to mask it with a lot of emotion that we truly don't feel, right? We have to mask it and say it's okay. We got to mask it and act like we're okay. We got to mask it and say, well, we know what God said. We know this, that, we have to mask so many different things. So tonight we're just going to take that mask off as a family because these are my two cousins, like I just said, and we're going to take y'all behind the mask, basically, in order to discuss pregnancy and infant loss and how, the process on how you go through it, the process and how you actually heal, and the process on how you actually find joy, right? Because we know that there is joy after whatever storm that we have gone through. And this storm is definitely pregnancy and infant loss. So welcome to my two cousins, Letitia and India. Welcome, y'all.
Hi.
I'm so excited. Yes, I'm so excited to have y'all. Now, I don't know which one of y'all want to go first.
India can go right ahead.
Oh my goodness. How did I know? Okay, so I'll start off with my story. So my story is infant loss. When I was pregnant with my second child, I was about 11 weeks pregnant. And during one of my visits where they checked the fluid behind the head, they found that there was a lot of fluid, which ended up my child was diagnosed with Down syndrome, followed by a heart defect that is common for children with Down syndrome. And I was completely devastated. I considered aborting, but out of fear, just unsure. The devil will use whoever he can to attack you at the right time. I was at the doctor appointment by myself, so I didn't have support. And then, the gestational doctors, they make it so easy for you to make such a choice. Oh, so many people have abortions and you can have this abortion in the summertime and the winter and enjoy the summer. And by winter, start again, try again. And so they make it so, sound so easy and so simple. And then on the flip side was we can put you in contact with parents that have children with Down syndrome. We can put you in contact with parents that aborted and you can get both sides. And, all of that is running through my mind and most of all fear. And so I was in my living room with my 3-year-old at the time. And out of the blue, she says, trust in me, believe in me. She wasn't looking at me. She was playing with a puzzle. I wasn't spiritually mature, spiritually aware. So I had never had an encounter with Christ. So I consider that moment my first real encounter. Mm-hmm. And I just knew that message was for me. And at the time, my mom didn't know. She didn't know the baby was diagnosed with Down syndrome. She just knew I was pregnant. And so I called her and I said, Mom, Mila just said, trust in me, believe in me. And she said, take heed to the message. It's for you. She said, just take heed to the message. And at that moment, I decided abortion was not even a thing to think about. There was no way I was going to abort my child. And so followed by another encounter where Jesus used a friend that was a doctor who I thought was going to give me medical advice. And she charged me with trusting God for healing. So that took me on another, spiritual journey of understanding that Jesus heals. You can trust him more than the doctors and things, so forth and so on. And so at that point, not only did I decide to not abort, I decided to trust that he would heal the baby and the baby would be born without any health issues. So I was able to enjoy my pregnancy, even though every time I went to the doctor, there was something. They were checking the heart. They still saw that there was this heart defect. They still saw signs of Down syndrome. But I just kept feeling like God is greater, Jesus is greater. It doesn't matter what the report is that they give me. This baby can be born without any issues, and there's no time limit on when he's going to do it. And so I literally enjoyed my pregnancy. As soon as I gave birth, baby came out, they confirmed Down syndrome. They confirmed heart defect. And I wasn't even bummed about it because I was in such a spiritual place where my trust level was on fleek, basically, for lack of a better word. I just trusted God so much that if he could bring me through this, whatever the case will be, he'll bring me through. Whatever my son needed, Mason, that we will be okay. We will be able to deal with it and he would be okay. The other beautiful part is that my mom works with mentally challenged adults. And so it wasn't a situation where no one in my family, would be able to deal with it. I had a strong support system. I knew that my mom would be there. And once I finally told her the diagnosis, she was just like, I don't care. That's my grandson. I'm excited, whatever. So then fast forward, now Mason is 11 weeks old, right? This is in 2013. And for a routine checkup for his heart, they found that his oxygen level was below 100, where a normal heart function, you have 100% oxygen level. His was at 86 at that point. And so the doctor decided that instead of waiting until he was 6 months or 7 months old, they would do the surgery immediately. So on December 6th of 2013, we went to Children's Hospital of Philadelphia for what is considered a routine surgery, 95% success rate. There would be a week stay followed by recuperation at home. So we take Mason, they prep him for surgery and everything like that. And they take him and his dad completely loses it. I mean, it was like maybe he had a premonition of some sorts, but he completely lost it as soon as he gave Mason over to the doctor. He goes into surgery every hour. They're giving us updates. And the last update was us getting pulled into a private room and them telling us that they couldn't take Mason off of the bypass machine, that his heart wouldn't restart. And he ended up on the ECMO, which is a machine that basically functions in place of the heart. When the heart is in distress, it'll function in place of the heart to give the heart rest to recuperate from whatever trauma. And so Mason ended up on ECMO. And again, trusting that God was going to pull him through. I was hysterical. There was no doubt about it. That is not what I expected. It was almost like an out-of-body experience because I'm waiting for them to tell me that everything went well, like they had been telling me for the last several hours prior to this time getting pulled into the office. And the thing that kept coming to me while he was in a hospital.
One second, y'all.
Okay.
So y'all know how internet is, and we internet connections are crazy sometimes. So we're gonna give India a moment to be able to come back on. But I think what I want to say is that during the entire process, we were all literally praying. We were praying all during her pregnancy. At the time, I was going to a church and I had everybody praying with regards to her pregnancy. After Mason was born, we were all praying, and especially when he was 11 weeks old going into the hospital.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sorry. So good old internet over here. And so where I left off was that I had, kept feeling like home, like God is telling me home. It was something that just kept coming to me. And the only home that I could think of was my house. So I rested in that. I went through every day in that hospital. Like, it doesn't matter what's going on. My son is coming home. I mean, I'm talking about oxygen level going down to 30 some days, 40 some days, panic. The crisis unit is waiting nearby because they're thinking they're going to have to perform CPR any minute. And I'm like sitting there reading a book telling Mason, he better cut it out. like, stop with the tantrum and relax yourself. And it wasn't until it literally happened, it just, at some point, on the night of March 17th, they had to end up doing CPR, and he transitioned to heaven. It was about 12:42, March 18th of 2014, after waiting, 3 months, believing that he was going to come home. And I remember, even as they're doing CPR, I'm just looking. I'm not losing it. I'm totally in control of myself, my emotions. And even when they were like, it's done, there's nothing else to do, I'm like, Lazarus got up. What was it, 3 days? Okay, so this has only been 5 minutes. We got time.
Mm-hmm.
He's coming home. You couldn't tell me he wasn't coming home. And I remember people just looking at me like she's completely crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But I just trusted, I was just in that vein where it's just, Jesus is everything. No one could comfort me. No one could talk me out of what I believed. It was just like, you either on this journey with me, or you just fall by the wayside and just wait for me to get back to you, and we'll catch up at some point. But there was no way that I was going to believe otherwise. And so when he transitioned and it just clicked, like, he may not be coming back. I remember running to the bathroom in the hospital, and I just literally screamed in the bathroom at God. And I just said, I can't believe you did this. This is not a club I want to be in. I don't believe you accepted me into this, because the thing, the difference in this situation is you're watching other people that have lost their children over the course of 3 months. And so you're kind of like, am I waiting my turn, or am I going to be part of that group that gets to go home? And I'm like, I'm a believer. Like, I believe in Jesus. There's people that don't believe in Jesus that went home with their children. So there's no way that God is going to let me go home with some empty hands. And when that didn't happen, I completely had it with him. I just said, I can't believe you did this to me. And I remember, just as clear as I could hear your voice, that God said, I love him more than you. I love him more than you, India. And it's like you're trying to be as mad as you can at somebody. I don't think I've ever been madder. And at the same time, I've never felt more loved at the same time. At this very same time, I was so upset, and it was like, I'm almost like throwing blows and he's hugging me. And I'm like frustrated, like, why are you being so kind to me right now? Like, I am so mad at you. And I literally cried, like, I'm so mad at you right now. And he was just like, India, I love Mason more than you. I love Mason more than you. And he was mine before he was yours. That, after some time of thinking about it, is what gave me peace, to be able to trust that I didn't need to know the reason. I just needed to trust that God knows what's best for me, and that for whatever reason, that was the decision that he made. And over time, he had something in store for me. The other thing that happened during that time is that I had a dream that I would have another child. But this is not me believing Mason wasn't coming home. This is just me believing that I had another child. And I had that child. He's 5 today. But that's my story, just trusting that God would bring me through. And he has. He has.
How did that process look for you?
What part? Like, in terms of
Bringing you through, like, okay, I come to the realization God said he
Yeah.
loved him more than I could and did.
Yeah.
So now he's home with me.
Yeah.
I told you prior to he was coming home, you just didn't know which home I was referring to.
Yeah.
How did that process look?
I would say, for me, it was harder believing that it was almost like I felt lied to.
Mm-hmm.
Not understanding that, no, home is also heaven. I felt lied to, and that was part of my anger with God. It was that you don't lie, but that's how I'm feeling inside, is that I've been lied to. I've been trusting you. And if and here I am. If I was getting it wrong, you should have told me. You should have told me that no, you meant heaven. But I'm like, but if he would have told me heaven, then where would I be today in my spiritual walk? Would I have given up? Would I have stopped believing that he is good, that he is faithful, that he is merciful, that he is gracious? Would I have believed that? I needed, because really, if I think about my journey of the 3 months of being in the hospital, it wasn't just about Mason. It was about the encounter that I had with other parents, those that were unsure, those that didn't believe in Christ, that needed to hear a word. It wasn't just about me. It wasn't just about Mason. It was about Christ using me for whatever he was going to use me for at that time, creating a platform that I didn't ask for.
And even being blessed in the process, right?
Right. And being blessed in the process, because, I know that there are a lot of moms that are still trying to recover. They feel traumatized. And I'm joyful to say that I don't have that. I feel I'm at peace. Mason was the first person that I can't even say died. I have to say transition, because I feel like in a sense, it's like dead is so final, or dead is sleep, right? And when your 4-year-old tells you, Mom, or asks you a question, Mom, did you know that Jesus feeds the babies in the nursery and he's feeding Mason right now? I'm just like, no, it's like him being in another country. Like he's like on vacation. I don't see him in a waiting room sleep. I see him very much alive, very much thriving, growing, he's 7 now. And I just see him somewhere happy, like in heaven, happy, waiting for us. So I think that's probably like the bigger part of the process, is being able to come to terms with what does it look like now? Like, where is he now? I don't feel that. I feel very at peace. I feel very much at peace with where he is.
Mila was very instrumental.
Very.
She used to say, like, they had that TV show, Kids Say the Darndest Things.
Yes.
Mila, it's not the darndest things. Mila would say some of the most spiritual things that would come from a grown woman, and it was coming out of the mouth of a toddler.
Right. Right. Yes. Yes. Like when she walked up to you and asked you, were you a sheep?
Hello.
And then you answered, and then she walked away? Yeah.
Walked away. Like, I need to know who. Let me discern this spirit real quick. Yes. Are you a wolf or a sheep? Because which are you? Hello. I need to understand who you are before I feel comfortable.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And it was, that was the other thing. She was 4 at the time of his transition. And I remember telling her, your brother he's in heaven now. And Mila, she cried, but then she said, I have to go and see him. And I'm like, but he's not in the bed. She's like insisting she has to go. So we drive her back to the hospital. We take her exactly where he was, which was occupied by a new child. And she looked around, and she walked away like, I'm fine. And that was that. And I leaned on Mila, because he dealt with it like a champ the whole time. I mean, the whole time I was nervous that she would kind of be traumatized of some sort. But when she saw him, she would just be like, hi, Mason, it's your big sister. And then she would go off and play with her iPad like it was nothing. And yeah, Mila is something else. She predicted that I'd had more kids, and here he is. Here he is.
Because I remember when she said it.
Yeah. Yeah.
She said, Mila was like, Mommy, I'm going to have a brother. I was like, who is this child? Who is
this
child?
People are nervous to talk around Mila.
Who is this child?
What she's going to say.
Who is this child?
Right. Her grandmother says, tell her don't say anything to me. Thank you.
Listen, who is this child
Right.
that foresees the future?
Right. Yeah. I have friends that when they see her, they look away. They're like, because I'm just scared she's gonna
Tell me something I do
word
not
over
want to
me.
hear.
They're like, I don't want her to speak a word over me. I don't want it. They're like, looking, is she still here? Okay, I'll wait.
Like, wait, did she leave?
Yeah, like, oh, she's still here? No. They're like, she's not a normal kid. I don't want her here.
No, because Mila is very observant.
Very,
Mhm.
very. Yeah.
And she's very protective. I hope what I was about, I'm gonna have to text you what I was just about to say, because I never forget. There's some things she said back then, and I was like, that even her dad was like,
Right. I've seen visions of her preaching.
oh, that's definite.
Yeah, I see it. I see her preaching over children.
Mila gonna be laying hands, casting out demons and stuff. Mila gonna be like, out. Next thing you know, Mila gonna have that like Benny Hinn type power, but the real stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It ain't gonna be no, I'm gonna throw a coat around and people just gonna fall. It's gonna be no. This is for real. Okay.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've had multiple visions of it, and she's also the reason why she actually sometimes would confirm. I believe that God uses her to confirm things to me, because that was just one thing. It's been the serious matters in my life have always been confirmed through Mila, and sometimes I've been like, Jesus, you could just tell me, and I guess he's just like, no, but you listen when I tell Mila first. There's something about when I tell her, and I'm like, you're right.
Because she's a child.
Right.
And there's no motive, there's no agenda, there's no nothing. It's just pure. So you can see the purity in her.
Exactly.
And you know it.
Yeah.
So you can trust it.
Right. Absolutely.
The innocence in her that you can trust. That's why the good word says, come to me as a child.
Right. Which doesn't mean age.
It means pure, innocent, willing.
Exactly.
Whatever. Exactly. I'm not here to preach today. I'm just saying.
Not yet.
I'm just saying.
Right.
Go ahead, Tisha.
Okay, so my story is pregnancy loss. I lost 5 pregnancies before being blessed with 3 children. So I had 5 consecutive losses, all completely unexplained. Completely devastating. So for me, it was, you have your life all planned out. Kojo and I got married in 2009, and in 2010, almost exactly 1 year after we were married, I found out that I was pregnant. We weren't trying per se. It was just going to happen when it happened. So found out I was pregnant, and less than 2 weeks later, I began to miscarry. I did not know what it was. And that loss sparked something in me, and it made me, I guess my intuition to become a mother just kicked in, and we immediately began trying again. I got pregnant again, probably about a year later, and that pregnancy also ended in a miscarriage. My physicians told me that I would need to have 3 losses before they would begin to do any type of testing for infertility to see if there was a cause for these losses. And that was totally devastating to me. I'm like, I just had 2 unexplained losses. I'm pretty healthy. We're young. And you want me to go through this again? You don't even want to try to help me prior to this, but it happened. We probably the next year we got pregnant again, and surely this pregnancy was not going to end in miscarriage. Lo and behold, it did. And I think it was at this point where my faith totally began to waver. Um, we were a young couple. We prayed together. We attended church regularly. Not that that has anything to do with it, but we really believed. We we prayed together a lot. We thought we were doing everything the right way. And I was like, why me? And clear as day, it really was God. He said, why not you? And at that point, I realized that I was not exempt from the hardships of life. Everything else it came pretty easily. I never struggled to get, if I wanted something, I would work hard and I got it. And this was one thing that was completely out of control for me. And I think at that point is when I realized that these were going to be some very, very hard lessons. Lessons of trusting God. And I had no control. I'm a control freak. So there is no control to relinquish. You just don't have it. It was happening, and there was nothing that I could do about it. Absolutely nothing. I will say that one thing about this journey is that we had some of the best people in our lives. I mean, I had people who were praying for me all of the time. And those prayers really sustained me because I stopped praying for myself. I stopped believing. Kojo would say, let's pray. And I would be like, not tonight. Like literally, I wasn't interested. I didn't know what was going on. I wanted answers. So I was really losing control. And as Kia said in the beginning of the show, I was walking around with this mask on and I was dying inside. I mean, completely dying inside. But again, I kept being reminded why you're not exempt. You are not exempt. And you're going to have to go through this. So we got pregnant again and again. This pregnancy is not going to end in miscarriage. Absolutely not. In between the third and the fourth pregnancy, we were approved and we went to a fertility specialist. And I was hoping that they would tell us something. I was hoping that something was wrong with me, something that they could fix. But everything was fine. There was absolutely nothing wrong with me. And I also switched physicians during this time. I went to a doctor, older Italian guy, and his presence, his bedside manner was just everything. And he would tell me, Mrs. Marilla, I've seen crazier things. I had a patient, she had 8 miscarriages, and then just one day she was pregnant. He was just so mild-mannered, so easygoing. When Kojo came to the appointments, he gave us hope. And that was big for me because I've had, during this process, I went to a doctor. It was a Black woman, and she told me, I think it was a 3rd pregnancy. She said, you're only 5 minutes pregnant. She completely dismissed everything that you read my chart. As a physician, it's your role to read my chart. You know exactly what's going on with me. And for you to minimize what I'm going through. So, I mean, it was all types of darts being thrown at me.
I might have cussed her out. Okay, go ahead.
And Kia, I was pissed. But really, really surprised. I complained. I filed a formal complaint. She had a reputation for being insensitive. So I probably was not the first person that this happened to. That was just one of the things that the devil just threw out there. There were so many things. And then, so we had 4th pregnancy that ended in a miscarriage. We were we started taking Clomid. I was giving myself Lovenox injections, just anything to try to make the baby stick. Those who have dealt with infertility understand. I'm like, is this going to be a sticky baby? And we tried it. That didn't work. So we got pregnant, and there was always about a year in between each pregnancy. So we dealt with this for about 6 years. Yeah. So I got pregnant a fifth time, and this time I went to the doctor. I would go to the doctor and they would just look at the ultrasound every single time. And I was supposed to be 8 weeks pregnant, but the embryo was only measuring 5 weeks, 4 weeks. At one point, I think my third pregnancy was the furthest I got, and I was 12 weeks pregnant. So for my fifth pregnancy, I went to get DNC. I told Kojo was my husband, I said, there is no way that I am going to go through this again. Miscarriages are painful. They are completely painful. It was, I can't even describe the physical pain on top of the mental anguish that you're experiencing all simultaneously. So we decided that once this pregnancy was deemed a loss, we would have a DNC. So I had a DNC. Let's see. We got a DNC, and I think we scheduled a HSG where it's another test just to make sure that my fallopian tubes weren't blocked. And this stuff never made sense to me, but my doctor said, clearly your tubes aren't blocked because you keep getting pregnant, but let's just look and see. So after the DNC, everything was completely clean. They clean your entire womb, your uterus, and we got the hysterosalpingogram, where they inject a dye into your fallopian tubes to ensure that they are not blocked, which clearly they weren't because I was getting pregnant. After that, we started exploring adoption. We were going to classes. We were very vulnerable. We were about to probably spend our entire retirement on adoption. One of my friends, I'll never forget it. Her name is Tanya. I don't know if she's watching, but one day during a Bible class, she asked me, she said, Letitia, do you want to be pregnant, or do you want to be a mother? And that really, really resonated with me. But I didn't want to choose. Deep down inside, I wanted to be a mother. If I had to adopt, that's what we were going to do. But I wanted to experience childbirth. So my ultimate answer to her was I wanted to be a mother. So we explored adoption. I think we even made a down payment to Bethany Christian Services. And my oldest son, I don't want this to go over anybody's head, he came to me through somebody that sorry guys.
It's okay, girl. We understand. And we know.
Yeah.
And this is all part of the
Mhm.
Exactly. So he came to me through somebody that I absolutely love. I know she loves me.
Yes, she does.
Anywho, so Elijah was born in January of 2015. And probably the spring of 2016, I found out that I was pregnant. I went to the physician. I went to Dr. Giardina. We did the ultrasound. He was just the best. So most times physicians make you wait until you're at a certain point before they even see you because they know the rate of miscarriages and they don't even want you coming in doing an ultrasound. But he was just so awesome, so gracious. We came in, he gave us the ultrasound, and he said, Miss Marilla, I'm really sorry, but this isn't looking too good. But I tell you what, go home, come back in a week, and we'll check again. So I went home. I came back the following week, and he said, oh my gosh, there's a heartbeat. This baby is going to stick. This is your baby. So I'm sorry, during that week, that entire week, I was completely off. I was completely devastated because here I wasn't eating. I couldn't eat. I was just I felt sick, and I thought it was due to me not knowing what was going to happen. I was going to lose a sixth pregnancy. Though that sickness was clearly morning sickness. So I didn't have vomiting or anything, but with this pregnancy, I just had really no appetite. I lost a ton of weight. I ate, I guess, only what I needed. But the story with Emmanuel is still it was a test of my faith like none other. We had Elijah, and I was going to the doctor for Emmanuel. Everything had been checking out so far. I wasn't going to see any specialist because there was no reason to. There was no explanation for the losses. And right now, everything was just working. According to my physician, these are the terms that he would use. So everything worked out. I was going to the doctor. I think it was I went to get the anatomy scan, but I think it was 18 weeks. And they said, we want him to come back because I think that after 20 weeks, this should be a little bit more developed, and it was his heart. So we want to take another look at it. And that was purely nothing but God, because had they been able to see everything that they needed to see at 18 weeks, I would not have gone back at 20 weeks or 22 weeks. I went to the doctor at 22 weeks, 22 weeks to the day, and I had an ultrasound tech. She began scanning me, and she immediately took the probe out. She was doing a vaginal scan. She took the probe out, and she said, I'll be right back. So I immediately lost it. I didn't know what was going on. At this point, I hadn't seen a heartbeat, nothing. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is going on? But I just felt him moving. So she came back and she said, you need to go to the hospital. Dr. Giardina wants you to go to the hospital. Don't go home and get clothes. Go to the hospital. She did not tell me what was going on. So I get to the hospital. The hospital was expecting me. I checked in. Before I left, the ultrasound tech grabbed both of my hands, and I was devastated. But she never told me what was going on. She grabbed both of my hands and said a prayer with me, and I immediately felt calmed. I had to drive myself to the hospital. My husband he was in his work car. He had to go take that car back. But I was completely calm. I didn't shed another tear. I got to the hospital. We checked in, and they put me in a room immediately. And a neonatologist comes in, and she starts talking to me, and she says, well, nationally, the standard is we don't resuscitate babies until they're 24 weeks. But at this hospital, we resuscitate at 22 weeks. So I'm like, what is going on? And then the maternal fetal specialist came in, and he told me that I had a bulging water bag and that I was dilated 1 centimeter. I'm only 22 weeks pregnant. So my doctor came in, And he said, you probably won't be going home before you deliver this baby. So you're here. You have to be on complete bed rest. Within the next half hour, they wheeled in what I call a crisis cart. There was like a resuscitation bag for the baby, incubator, everything. And at that moment, I lost it again. I'm like, what is going on? But it stayed there. The days went by. I never really complained. I was in the hospital with Emmanuel from July 8th. I did not deliver him until September 7th. This entire time, I am on complete bed rest. I could not get out of the bed to use the bathroom. I could not get out of the bed to take a shower. Nothing. But I had this peace, this calm that I know it was only God. The nurses would come in and say, we don't know how you haven't lost it yet. You're so nice. And I would say to them, if you guys only knew, I was going to do whatever I needed to do to bring my child into this world. And if that meant staying in bed until he was, until he came, that's what I would do. And that's truly what I did. I was notorious for Googling things. And I don't know why, again, the things that can't be explained, it's only God. I was not Googling anything. I was in the bed. I spent the entire summer. I watched all of the Olympics. I mean, I just really made the best of it. My water broke on Friday, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was 30 weeks exactly. So at this point, they had done an ultrasound a couple days before, and they told me that Emmanuel was I think they told me he was 3 pounds, 8 ounces. So I'm like, oh, I know he's going to be okay, because people have had smaller babies and they've been just fine. So I thought they would deliver the baby once your water breaks. Here I go. I learned something else. The doctor said that your body keeps on replenishing amniotic fluid. So they would let me stay as long as I could. And I didn't. I had him 5 days later. And he was born via an emergency C-section. Go figure. I'm in the hospital with a dilated cervix, but he went into some type of respiratory distress. So we gave birth to him. It was an emergency cesarean. I was completely asleep. And the entire time that I was in the hospital, like I said, I was fine. Mentally, physically, aside from the issues that had me in the hospital, I had no issues, no infections. But as soon as I had him, I became sick. And that's probably what put him into respiratory distress, because my water had been broken for so long. And I think some type of infection set in. So I had him on a Friday, on a Wednesday. I did not get to go to the nursery to see him because I was completely sick. I was running a high fever. I just did not feel good. I had an infection. So I saw him on Saturday. But one thing that did stand out to me during this hospital stay is it was probably a week before I gave birth to him, the maternal fetal specialist came into my hospital room, and he said, I have never seen anybody that presented like you that has lasted this long. He said, I'm not really a believer, but this makes me believe. He said, I expected you to deliver within 48 hours. The entire time I was in the hospital, I had no idea that it was this bad. Nobody ever told me. They told me not to get out of the bed, but I mean, and at that point, I knew that it was nobody but God that saw me through. And Emmanuel, his name, you guys know what that means. God is with us, and he truly, truly was. So we got Emmanuel. We get him home. He said that he did have to stay in the NICU for about a month, but he was fine. He had trouble eating. His suck, swallow, breathe. He couldn't get that in sync. That's working perfectly fine now because the kid is a giant. But he came home, and I think in February, you guys know that when you nurse, most time nursing mothers do not get a monthly cycle. Well, I did. I nursed and he ate vigorously, and I got a monthly cycle. So, and Pat,
So wait, that's real?
it's real. So it's real. But hold on, I'm sorry. A lot of times it's not 100%. It's not guaranteed, but it's I think it happens more often than not. I got a cycle, and one day I was talking to my mom. I said, it's kind of late. And she said, you better go take a pregnancy test. That's just how my mom and I talk. So she said, you better go take a pregnancy test. And of course, I had a drawer full of pregnancy tests because we were testing all the time, prior to Emmanuel. So it was an old Dollar Tree pregnancy test. And I took the test, and it immediately showed positive.
Mm-hmm.
So Emmanuel is 4 months. 4 or 5 months. I just got out of the hospital less than 6 months ago. And
you ain't wait. That's all.
I did. I promise you I did.
Y'all was back. Y'all was like, oh, okay, 8 weeks, no
they
problem.
Are 15 months apart. So, anyway, I found out I was pregnant. I went to the doctor, and because of everything, this pregnancy was, I tell everybody that God allowed me to get pregnant with my daughter to let me experience what he intended for pregnancy to be. It was an enjoyable pregnancy, although I did go to the doctor every week to get an injection to make sure that my cervix wouldn't open. This pregnancy was textbook. I mean, I was able to do everything. No bed rest, nothing. Layla was due on October 19th. I was scheduled for a cesarean on October 18th, went into labor on October 12th. So we have 3 beautiful children after all of that. I have 2 boys and a girl, and it runs the entire gamut. I tell people all the time, I never share in a formal platform, if you will, my story, but whenever I can, I to encourage people. I've encountered so many women who are experiencing infertility or pregnancy loss, and I'm telling you guys, if God did it for us after all of that, I truly believe that he can do it for anybody. He will. And that's my story. I'm just blown away. I'll never, ever doubt God again. And I can't say that I haven't, because I told you guys earlier I did. But one of my prayers before I got pregnant with Emmanuel and before Elijah, I could not pray. I could not bring myself to say much. I said, God, if you give me any measure of faith, just help me through this. And it wasn't even to get pregnant. It was just to be okay, because I never thought I would be okay. And he blessed us with more than we could have ever hoped for, more than we asked for. We've just been abundantly blessed.
I love it. Y'all know I do. For the simple fact that it is a lot when you watch your family members suffer through miscarriage, infant loss. It's a lot. And it's a lot on them because it's their experience, right? And it's a lot on the support system, because now you got to even test your own measure of faith, right? Because you're trying to speak life into a situation that even you are questioning God about. And you like, hold up, wait, sir, pause. What is going on here? because all you said I needed was this good little mustard seed, which ain't but this big, and we could sit up here and move mountains.
Okay. There you go.
Hold up, India. Check your microphone.
It's on. You hear me?
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I can hear you. It's doing a little feedback, but it is very different when you are literally sitting here and you're trying to hold on to the little bit of faith and a little bit of strength that you have as even the person going through it, and then even as a support system. And as a support system, you have to know that even if you don't have the right words, if you don't know what to say, it's okay to not say nothing at all. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times people get it misconstrued, and what they fail to understand is that your sadness can overpower everything. You know what I'm saying? I'm sad on the inside. I'm angry with God. I'm battling something spiritually, emotionally, right? Mentally, I'm battling. And then physically, I'm battling. Why? Because my body is a physical body that I feel my body is rejecting everything that I was sent here to do. My job is to multiply. As a woman, right? I feel like that's my job. My job is to multiply. And you're telling me I'm not able to multiply and carry out my job. I did things the way I thought I was supposed to. So I'm married. Now I'm trying to have children. I'm trying to do this, that, and the third. And now all of a sudden, this ain't coming to pass. Or, okay, I had one child. I get pregnant with my second child. All these tests and all these trials come. I got everybody praying. I'm learning now how to exercise my faith. I'm learning now how to have hope, right, for tomorrow. I'm learning now how to trust God. I'm learning now how to believe God. I'm learning now how to cling to him and his word, right? God, you're a healer. God, you're a redeemer. God, you're a restorer. Okay.
Yeah. So one thing that I want to say is I don't ever want to say it as taking a punishment, but it's very cliche. God knows how to get our attention. And it can be the most uncomfortable thing in the world, but he will surely get our attention. He will certainly get it.
And I think that sometimes it's not as a punishment, right? Because as much as God grasped our attention.
No, I don't think, I mean, at the time, I thought that.
Well, yeah, but you grow in your maturity, right?
Mm-hmm.
As I grow in my understanding, I know he ain't punishing me. There's nothing that I did wrong. Like, this is not a punishment. I ain't do nothing wrong. I didn't sin to cause this, as you know what I'm saying? Some people really do think that when they experience any type of a loss, it's like, I must not have did something right in order to experience this amount of a loss, this amount of trauma, this amount of detriment, this amount of a lack of hope. But it's really just about, okay, what is the lesson in all of this, and what is this bringing about in the end? How is it that, okay, I'm suffering through this loss, but this loss is about to bring about purpose, right? Because both of y'all have experienced purpose through the loss of either pregnancies, multiple pregnancies, or the loss of an infant, right? And I think that's the driving factor is, if you stay stuck, I tell people this all the time, if you stay stuck in the trauma, if you stay stuck in the pain, if you stay stuck in the hurt, you'll never fully reach your maximum potential. You'll never reach your purpose, which will then drive you into destiny, right? So right. Now, as I mature in my thoughts, and I mature in my spiritual way, and as I mature even in my emotions, I begin to understand that, you know what, this brought about a purpose that was far greater than what I could ever imagine, right? Like for you, Tisha, you were able to adopt from a young baby, right? And then as soon as you go to adopt, boom, here comes Emmanuel. Mm-hmm. But it brought you to a purpose, right? Because the desire was, I want to be a mother. It doesn't matter which way I become that. If I become that naturally, or if I become that through adoption, I want to be a mother, period. And I have a desire because I want to be a mother. So you know what? God opened up this door, boom. And then what he do? He opened up your womb. And then what he do? He opened up your womb in order to carry. And then you were able to carry, even though you was on bed rest for that good period of time, right? And then look, okay, because we was inboxing through the and texting and stuff like, girl, you all right? How you feeling? You good? Yeah, okay. He still in there? Hold it tight, okay?
I think everybody was inboxing and texting
You're
and
right.
calling. I'm telling you guys, but when I told y'all I was okay, I really was. I really was.
Look, well, thank you for confirming that now, because I didn't know whether you were okay or not. All I know is that when I met the good Emmanuel, he liked my tattoos, okay? And then,
You know what?
And then when he saw Mary J. Blige on TV, he was like, Mommy, that's key. I was like, he know I could hit my Mary. Get it?
Oh my gosh. But you know what? Can I say this? I feel like it's like God blesses you to trust him, but he will also, for lack of a better word, like put the pressure on you to take you to another level. Because when I thought about losing people prior to Mason, going through that experience with Mason, you know, it was heartbreaking, but then it was kind of like gradually kind of like over, you know what I mean? Like that person is not here. You have to continue on with life. And it was just so different with Mason. And I find that in life now, I don't look at anything the same. It doesn't matter what the situation or challenge is. It's like my trust is at a different level, but it's also like God challenges me at a different level. The challenges are greater. The rewards are greater and the challenges are greater.
I like that.
You know what I mean? Because if I hadn't, it was only one decision to not abort. I made that one decision, you know, and then it was just like the floodgates open with all of these different things that happen. You know, I don't want you to abort. I want you to trust in me and believe in me, because these are the things that I'm going to do in your life. You know, had it not been for Mason, I wouldn't have started my nonprofit, Mason's Mission, where we're feeding children that stay at the Ronald McDonald House and feeding the families that stay there. That wouldn't have come about had it not been for us staying at a Ronald McDonald House and being able to impact the lives of other families and understanding the challenges that other people go through. You know, you go through life prior to, I'm sure, teacher, you can relate, prior to all of this, it was like you said, things came pretty easy, or you knew that you had to work hard to get to something, but you knew what it took to get there.
Nothing felt unattainable. Exactly.
Right. It was attainable. It was in your control. And now being faced with a situation that is totally out of my control was just heart-wrenching.
And it also makes making decisions for some stuff that may be big to others, it just makes it easy. I think it was last year or a year and a half ago, I was at a very stressful job, completely stressful. And one day I was brushing Elijah's teeth and he said something and I just started crying. So I called Kojo. I said, Kojo, we've been talking about it, but I'm quitting today. I have my resignation letter typed up and I'm quitting. And I quit. And the very same day that it was my last day at work, I stayed there and I did everything that I was supposed to do because, again, I had this peace. I got called for an interview. I was able to spend all last summer with my kids, and I had already had a job that I knew I was going to start in August. So you get to spend your whole summer. I'm not stressed out. It just makes those type of things way easier. It gives you a different perspective and another level of faith. I don't think I would have ever done that before. And I at that time, it probably would have made more sense because I didn't have children. But I was like, I'm quitting. I did it. And I'm, you know, God just, he looks out. He looks out for me.
Right. Yes. Yes. Sometimes I've had moments where I'm like we're dating. You're my father in heaven, but you're my boo. Thank you for all the gifts you have bestowed upon me. Nothing will break us apart.
Wow.
I love you forever, Lord. I'll be like, I love you forever. Can't nobody say nothing bad about you.
Because you have been there
You've been there.
Hello.
You have been there.
When nobody else was.
Let's not even talk about the level of repentance I had to go through after going off in that bathroom. Because that's part of this process too. You know, because you like we both said, you know, the devil will attack you in different ways to get you to not trust. The more Jesus is telling you to trust, the more the devil is like, don't do it. Don't do it. Look what's happening right now. Look at all of these things that are happening. Don't trust because you're going to get hurt again. And God is like, no, trust me. I'm telling you. Because like I said, you know, they caught me by myself. Oh, she's here alone. Listen, abort today. Abort. Enjoy your summer. Start again in the winter. It's really simple. I can put you in contact with families that are happy that did it. And you're like, okay, let me think about it because this isn't good.
We just not about to co-sign abortions like, oh, I was happy I had one. Sir, ma'am.
Yeah.
I don't need no co-sign on that. If I did make a decision, it's going to be mine and mine alone. Not because somebody else said they was happy about it, but.
Right. But the things that happen when you're in a vulnerable space.
Yeah, it's a lot.
You're in a vulnerable, you know, you'll consider anything. If it quickens you getting to an end result versus having to wait.
They know you're
pumped full of fear. You don't know what to expect.
Right.
You're pumped full of fear.
Right. I have no idea. And when you're talking about, you know, a child with Down syndrome, you don't know what the level of severity is going to be. It can be super mild. It can be super serious. The health issues related to it. But you know what? I went from, oh my gosh, God, how could you do this to me? To thank you so much for giving me Mason. When I looked at that, I was already at peace during my pregnancy. Like, I don't care what's going to happen. This is my son. We didn't know what it was going to be. But when I had him, I was like, this is my son. I love him. He is the best thing ever. I mean, he rolled over at 5 weeks old.
He was so cute.
Like, Down syndrome, what? He's the bomb. You know.
Look, we were like, okay, that little ear, that's all right.
Right. The best sleeper ever. The smiles. I mean, I went from how could you to why would you bless me? What did I do to deserve this baby? Because he's amazing. You know, I'll take him. And I remember going to a checkup in preparation for surgery. And one of the nurses came into the room to check him. And when she looked at him and she said, does he have Down syndrome? I said, yes. And it was just like, you could just see the joy. It was almost like joy. She was overwhelmed with joy. She said, oh my gosh, they're the best babies. She's like, they're the best babies. She said they sleep and they stay baby like longer than your typical baby because the development can be slower in some areas. And she's like, so you have a baby longer. And I was like, I'll take it. We love them. We keeping them. You know, we're not giving him to nobody. So, yeah.
You had the cutest little photo shoot for him with the little knitwear.
Yeah, not knowing, not knowing what was to come. But yeah, he started out smiling. By the middle of it, he was hysterical, like, get me out of this thing. But, that's what you do as a mother.
That's right.
You're going to take these pictures in this diaper cover.
You know what? That is hilarious. But he showed up there to take the pictures. He was over it, but he took them though.
Yes.
Cute self. So let's talk about Mason's mission.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do?
Yeah. So, like I said, we anticipated only being in a hospital for a week. And when we were told the day of the surgery that things didn't go according to plan and that he was being put on life support, we went from staying in a luxury hotel to we need to make some real serious decisions because we don't know how long we're going to be here. And so, they have hospital coordinators that will reach out with things like that. And we were approached, and that's when we were told about Ronald McDonald House. So Ronald McDonald House is a place where you stay, where parents will stay when their children need care. They probably need specialized care, and the hospital that they have to go to is far enough away from home where you can't travel back and forth, right? And so it alleviates the cost of paying for a hotel. where at the Ronald McDonald House, you can pay around $15 a night or nothing. Because if you don't have the funds, Ronald McDonald House will not charge you. You will stay completely free. All of the meals at the Ronald McDonald House are sponsored by volunteers, whether it's individuals, organizations, or other nonprofit organizations. And so we ended up staying there for 3 months for very little money. And like I said, all the meals are for free. They have play areas for children. My daughter thought we were, on vacation. That was like the best thing to her, staying at the Ronald McDonald House. Even to the point where after everything happened, she's like, are we going back to the Ronald McDonald House? Because I had so much fun there. And I had to tell her, I'm glad you enjoyed your stay, but hopefully, we won't have to be there again because, it's for a special reason why people have to stay there. And so it was then placed on my heart to start Mason's Mission, where I thought, let me get my family and my friends together and let's just donate a meal, and I'm thinking this is a one-time thing, or maybe every year, annually, we get together and we feed the families, because we were there over the holidays. We were there Christmas, New Year, all of our birthdays. We were in the hospital. And so I started Mason's Mission, which right now we support 100% the Ronald McDonald Houses. We raise money so that we can sponsor the meals at various different Ronald McDonald Houses. They're all over the nation. The one that we stayed in is actually the first one, which is in Philadelphia. And before COVID, you were able to actually go on site and cook the meal and you serve the families. And they're so appreciative of having people from outside that just want to share kindness and love and chat with them and just take their minds off of the issues that they're dealing with, with their children being sick. And so that's what Mason's Mission does. We were hoping that before COVID that we were able to also sponsor events for St. Jude, because St. Jude, works very similar, in which you don't pay to stay there. The families stay at St. Jude for free. They don't pay anything. Mm-hmm. Mason's Mission ultimately will be providing meals at Ronald McDonald Houses across the nation. And we will also sponsor events to send donations to St. Jude. So we'll do fundraising activities like races and things like that, paint and sip, just a bunch of various different events. And then we'll provide the funds to St. Jude. And with the Ronald McDonald House, once the world opens back up and you're able to really go and support people in person, we'll volunteer and we'll cook the meals. But for now, we sponsor the meals at the various locations. We send the money, or we work with the restaurant and pay for the food to be catered at the location. So as I was stating, this year Mason would have been 7. And so we were able to raise enough money so that we could pay for 7 locations the week of his birthday. His birthday is September 24th. So the week of his birthday, we paid for 7 locations across the nation in 7 different states. And we paid for the families to be fed. So we're growing. And Mason's Mission is also a 501c3, so it's tax deductible. And we also have an account on Amazon Smile. So Mason's Mission can be a charity of choice. So without, going through what we went through, Mason's Mission wouldn't exist. We wouldn't have known. We wouldn't be doing this. So, beautiful things happen.
So it's Mason, MASON. So it's www.masonmission.org, right?
Yep.
All right. So everyone has the information. I do have it right here as a banner. I also posted it in the comments. So if anyone would definitely like to donate, you would just need to go to www.masonmission.org in order to donate. And like she said, it is a 501c3 organization. So therefore, it is definitely tax deductible for you and your donations. I believe that's why I said a lot of times what we go through is not just for us. It can birth out our purpose and literally propel us into our own destiny, right? Mm-hmm. Part of the reason why this podcast is here is because of everything that I have gone through, right? So you never know how what you go through can literally help other people to the point where all you have to do is open up your mouth and people will begin to be drawn into you because they have an experience or they know someone that had an experience, whatever the case may be, because we begin to really connect the dots with people, right? And I just think that that's important, that we recognize and that we understand that what we go through is literally just not for us. A lot of the times when we experience pregnancy and infant loss, we don't really talk about it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of it is, it's a lot of hurt to unpack. It's a lot of pain to unpack. It's a lot of emotion to really unpack in order to begin to understand, like, I went through this.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And then on top of that, to speak on it, let me say this. I saw something online today and it kind of broke my heart a little bit, right? So we know there's a celebrity couple that went through pregnancy loss. And someone said in a comment like that, you don't know if a person can see it, but everything within the realm of media, anybody can really see it. So the person said, I mean, all right, we know already. I mean, there are thousands of other women that have gone through this too. I mean, what makes this letter so important? And I'm like, while I might understand your sentiment, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was real insensitive.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because when you are a celebrity and you're able to reach a larger audience, it's okay for you to express how you feel, right? And the reason being is because there are other women that have experienced that might not have the voice that this person has. So it's okay for them to speak about it. And a lot of times people are so desensitized to the traumatic experience to where you make it about you without you understanding that it's not about you.
Mm-hmm.
It's about me, how I feel, and how I'm processing, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to have this discussion for this month. You know what I'm saying? Although pregnancy and infant loss is reserved for one day, right? I believe it's October 15th. It's reserved for the day, but I said we're going to take the month, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Along with domestic violence, along with breast cancer, along with pregnancy and infant loss, we're going to all take this month and truly begin to rip the muzzle off of something that has always left women feeling guilt, feeling shame, feeling abandoned, feeling weak, sometimes even feeling hopeless, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's so stigmatized. There's this huge stigma. So
You mentioned abandoned. One thing that always resonated with me when it comes to infant loss and pregnancy loss is that it almost feels like, the parents are left to fend for themselves after it. It's almost like this unspoken window of time where it's like once, and I'm not saying it's everybody, but once the news is out that she has lost the baby dies, it's kind of like we move on, especially with pregnancy. It'll, and it shouldn't be, but it's like, when you have an infant that's lost, it's almost like people are like, okay, that baby was born, that baby was here. But in my case, a lot of people didn't get to meet Mason because of the heart defect. And it was wintertime. We had to make sure that no one was sick, no one was around him. We had to keep him as healthy as possible. So a lot of our relatives and friends and stuff didn't get to meet him. But I know, other people that have experienced.
you lost her.
She'll join back in. But she's right, because I never physically met Mason. I saw Mason over pictures, and I saw Mason at his funeral, but I never physically met him, and she's right, because we were all concerned with his health and his protection. Go ahead, girl.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know what happened. But it's almost like it's over.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have the funeral and it's over. Or the mom comes home from the hospital after dealing with whatever is needed to fully miscarry the baby, if the baby hasn't totally miscarried, and it's over. And it's like, it's not treated as the same as if someone that was here for years.
Yep.
And I feel like that's part of like the abandonment piece is like, no, I'm still coping with the loss of my child or the pregnancy. Like, these are my kids. Even though I didn't give birth to them, I was pregnant. Like, they exist. They exist. You know, they still transition just like Mason, you know.
And let's be real. They had a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And I can't explain to you the moment, whether you are planning on pregnancy or not, the moment you find out, you don't even have to hear a heartbeat, but the moment you see a positive pregnancy test, something just awakens in you.
Oh my, you're picking colleges. Oh, the baby going to Harvard. The baby, you just found out 5 minutes ago. Let me get this retirement up because I'm paying for college. 18 years. Got it. Yeah. You're full blown mom mode.
Full blown mommy mode.
And let me say that, and that's why I think sometimes people fail to understand pregnancy loss. Because like you said, they just be like, ultimately, I mean, well, I wasn't born.
Right.
Oh, okay. Just because it wasn't born does not mean that I didn't bond. It does not mean that there was not a relationship. I felt something that was different on the inside of my body that was never there before. And that was one of the telltale signs I knew something was wrong, because how I had felt a day before, I didn't feel anymore. Right. So if you're in tune with your body as a woman, you're like, hold on, wait, pause. Something, this ain't right. I don't feel, and it was as if the pregnancy symptoms, like the morning sickness, all that stuff, the constant fatigue had started to just dwindle away. And I was like, oh no, I need to call this good doctor real quick right now. Get this doctor on the phone and tell him I need to see him ASAP. Because something is wrong, right? Yeah. So you automatically feel a bond and a connection because something is different. My baby had the good feet was forming, arms, eyes, and then nothing. And you can't tell me that at the end of the day, when a doctor can say, like you said, Tisha, they perform the testing on the baby to see, okay, what happened? Because I need to. They do that because they need to know if you were to get pregnant again, they know what they need to check for. They know what they need to test for, right? I still to this day say it was not my chromosome because all my chromosomes is normal. Okay, I don't care what nobody say. All of them.
I say my baby's just as extra as I am because that's what happens with Down syndrome. They get an extra one.
Let me say, and this is, listen, before we got what, like I said, these are my cousins. So before we got on this live, I said, y'all know, I will laugh, joke, and cry with the best of y'all. So y'all know, we know what this is about. So we're going to laugh, we're going to joke, and we're going to cry all at the same damn time.
All at the same time.
Okay?
Yes.
Because this is what we do. But listen, I said it wasn't mine. She said hers had extra because she extra. Go ahead.
My baby extra. Give him that. Drop that little extra chromosome on him. Jesus. Yes. Got him rolling at 5 weeks. But he rolled at 5 weeks. I posted it everywhere.
Yes,
my baby is advanced. Sleep on Down syndrome. Sleep on children with Down syndrome if you want to. Your baby's not rolling at 5 weeks. Your bed is tilted. That's the only reason why it happened.
Wait, you know what? What was their bed was what?
Their bed was tilted. The baby rolled down a hill. My baby rolled over.
And you see how just God will give you those little experiences. That's
my God, yes. Even in the hospital, I'll tell you, and I have it on video where I put a little toy in his hand, and I was telling him to pick it up, and I just kept saying, Mason, can you pick up the toy for your dad, right? And he's clearly ignoring me, and I'm like, I know you hear me. And I kid you not, I probably said it 4 times. And I said, Mason, please pick up the toy for daddy. When I tell you I got the stank look and he raised the toy, he said, and turned away. And it was like so on cue, so on point. Yeah, Jesus is amazing. He will give you those little things to hold on to. He gave me those, in the short time he was here. I think he's had the biggest impact on my life out of anyone in my life.
Wow.
All that hair he had.
Oh my goodness. Somebody said he looked like one of the guys in Menudo. One of the nurses cornrowed it.
Yes.
They were bait. Can we watch his hair? I said, have your way. Just make sure he feels good about it. Just as long as he's happy, go ahead. They were having a field day.
But he blessed them in that hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Because as much as they thought,
yep,
every day was a miracle.
Every day.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And we were told after the fact, India, we didn't even think he was going to make it this time. The doctor said, I'm speechless. I know he's not here, but I didn't think she had said he should have been gone in February. This is like mid-March. She's like, I don't even know how he made it this long. They put him on the heart transplant list. And again, I just had this strong feeling. I said, he's not taking somebody else's heart. He's going to keep his own. He's going to keep his own heart. He's not getting somebody else's heart. He kept his own heart. And he came off the ECMO machine. He didn't stay on that. He was able to get off of it. And with medication, his heart was functioning. But yeah, he still, proved them wrong in a lot of different areas. So, yeah.
Let me tell you, Mason helped all of us Mason helped all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Every single last one of us have a large amount of faith due to Mason and the journey, right? Mm-hmm. It was the journey through pregnancy. It was the journey after he was born. It was the journey once he went into the hospital. It was a journey. I mean, you saw, we had people going to church that was never going to church.
Okay.
Hello.
True.
Hello.
True. Yeah.
So Mason began to transform lives.
Mm-hmm.
He began to really transform lives. And even though, because I know even my own self questioned God concerning all of that, like, Lord, we prayed, what pause. Like, mm-hmm. And one of the things I did not want to hear, which you hear a lot of people say is, well, God is sovereign. I don't want to hear that part.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I know that part. I wrote a whole paper on that part. You feel me? Mm-hmm. So if I already know that part, I don't need you to tell me that part. I need you to tell me something else.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And when you begin to truly deal with purpose,
mm-hmm.
it goes beyond God is sovereign. It goes beyond all of that. It goes into really understanding purpose and living a purpose. I honestly think that I really began to understand a purpose-driven life because of that. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And watching even though you went through what you went through privately within your own question, right? You never showed that on the outside. Mm-hmm. On the outside, India was like, no, I believe God and I trust God and this is what it is. And okay, God said that. All right, so now what is next, God, right? On the inside, you might have felt the turmoil, but on the outside, you were like, okay, no, God must have something else, which showed me that even though you were battling, you were still focused.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? So I think that the entire experience really and truly helped, especially a person like me, because Mila asked me, are you a sheep? And that's because even at that time, I might have been listen, I don't know which one I am yet, ma'am. Hello. I might be saved. I might not be. We trying to figure this part out.
Trying to figure out if she's going to get a mat. Which way is east, west? I don't know.
Trying to figure it out at that time. Okay.
Right.
There was a lot going on.
Right. Right.
But when you have a child ask you, who are you?
Straight faced.
Hello. You begin to figure it out real quick who you are. And you get your good walk all the way together.
Right.
In Jesus' name. So therefore, I think a lot of people were transitioned through Mason's transition, right? And it helped a lot of people. And even for you, Tisha, like I tell you all the time, you know, I didn't meet you until way after you and Cody were married, you know what I'm saying? Because I was living up here and you was down there. So we wasn't there. I wasn't, at least. I was up here. Not trying to go to Georgia at all, okay? Y'all know. Nakia was like, what? For what? If I'm not coming down here, it better be a holiday, okay? But what I will say is that after, when I went down there, right, and then I moved down, me and Tisha was like, girl, what you doing? Oh, okay. Well, I'm coming over. What's going on, right?
Kia will come to our house every Sunday after.
Listen, preach about Kia and her show up game.
Okay, look, you want to go? I'm like, I have babies. What are you doing? Where are we going? You want to go on a Sunday? Let's go to Atlanta. I have babies and a husband. I just can't do that every single day. But yeah, India, you're right.
Every single day. Now I'm the type, just like don't just pop up, right? Because I'm very like regimented with my schedule and the kids and blah blah blah. But this one right here will call you. What you doing? Nothing. Oh, good. This time she's like, I'm outside. What? How you outside with luggage in your car? Talking about open the door. What? You don't even live in Jersey. You drive 2 hours, assuming I'm just gonna. But you know what? I'm thankful because when I was going through it, not talking to people, she showed up. She showed up on the day that I was struggling. That, you know, you just need somebody to just sit there and just listen. You just need to dump whatever is on your heart and in your mind. And sometimes certain people are not going to fill that gap. You know, you need girl time or whatever, or, you know, a relative. And here she goes knocking on the door, like calling. I'm not doing anything. Good. I'm outside. All right. So she's the only, literally, she is the only one in my family that gets that pass. Nobody else does it. Nobody.
I think that's naturally inherited from my dad. My dad is the king of pop-up. You know, he used to do that.
That's just her. Just leave the window open. She will be there.
I'm coming in.
Just leave the light on.
And she has a bag. She is prepared to stay.
What I'm not going to do is be unprepared for my stay. Okay.
I said, "Oh, you got clothes? Okay, good. All right.
Look, clothes and a book. Hello.
Thank you, because at that part of that conversation was, listen. I think part of my biggest struggle also during that time was, am I hearing God right? You know, he's been saying home, home, home. How did I get it wrong? Like, am I not hearing what he said? Because he told me so many things. Am I imagining what he said? Because I got this wrong. She's like, I'll be right back. So where is she going? Here she comes with this book that she has in her car. Talking about, I think the name of the book was like Hearing God's Voice.
The voice of God.
This is.
So he sent her, India.
Right. That's what I'm saying. He sent her with a bag and a book.
That's how I knew I was a sheep. Hello.
So
I said,
I have to wrap it up because my babies are knocking on the door.
My daughter's texting me. That's why she gets fast. Yeah, she's texting me from her iPad and she don't have no phone.
Oh, poor Mila. And poor all the babies. But let me say this. I bless y'all. Y'all know my good struggle. And I bless y'all for coming on here, and even the 3 other women that came on And y'all round out the good 5 together. And we all know that the number 5 means grace, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
God does all things well. Everything goes according to his plan and his purpose, right? And I didn't really pay attention to it. It was 5 of y'all this month in the 10th month, but it's all right. Now I'm paying attention to the fact that it was 5 of y'all in this good 10th month. And one thing that I will say is that I bless y'all and I thank y'all, each and every last woman that came on here, because a lot of you have not necessarily discussed really and truly openly what you've gone through. Right? And it's a blessing when you can finally do it. And we might cry through it, we might laugh through it, we might joke through it, but the key is that we're showing women that there is another side to this, right? And there is joy after the storm. Like, you can survive after the loss. You can find purpose after the trauma. Going through a pregnancy loss, an infant loss is very traumatic. I don't care who you are. No, I don't care how much Wheaties you eat or whatever the case may be. That S on your chest kind of gets a little crooked and you just a little, you know what I'm saying? You're looking at the world a little side-eyed, right?
Right.
But what we've been able to show by the grace of God, number 5, is that there is yet and still something that can come after all of it. You will have joy.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story, because I mean, there were so many times I felt inadequate. I mean, like, I've had some real crucial conversations. Kojo, I don't think I can give you a child. And I know we talked about this before marriage, and like, do we need to go down that road?
Are they knocking on the door?
Oh yeah, the door's locked.
My door's locked too.
I love it, but but you're right, because that is a whole nother conversation. And you tell Kojo he gonna come on the good podcast to talk about it, because I know that.
Oh, you know that's not happening.
He gonna come.
Not talking.
His little shy self, he could come.
That's not happening.
Tell Kojo I say he could come. I'm gonna text him too, like, cousin, you can come. It's okay.
Right.
But I do like, yeah. I think, yeah. He always held on though to the faith. He was like.
He did.
Kojo was like, no,
really
did. I think we could do it. We could do it.
He really did. I mean, because there were times I was just like, yeah. I want to pray. Like, for what? And he was just so. He really did. And I can't say enough about that. And it really grew our marriage. I mean, it did.
All right, I can't wait to talk about that part. You know, the growth of the marriage and all of that, all that good stuff that come about. And then and then you heard me almost say Miss India will come on and, you know what I'm saying, give her good fortune. Hello.
One day.
And then, you know what I'm saying, and then I might be able to give a good portion. Hello.
Right.
The folk got to start acting right. But
at one point, we can talk about the in between.
Hello. So we're going to
everything is worth the wait. Everything is worth the wait.
You better say so.
Everything.
Everything, all things. All right. So thank y'all. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the Muzzle Is Off Podcast. Listen, we are streaming on iHeartRadio, we are streaming on Google, we are streaming on Apple, we just streaming everywhere. And I want to thank y'all for tuning in. Like I said, check out Mason's Mission, www.masonmission.org. And be a support to the mission, because the mission is actually very important. You never know when you might need help, and the Ronald McDonald House is there to help you, as it is helped many of other families. So thank everybody for tuning in. I thank y'all for being my final guest for this month. My cousins, y'all know I love y'all.
We love you.
We don't love nobody. We love them to life. Hello.
You're always welcome, but I don't have to say that.
Right, I'm gonna pack a good bag, okay, and be like, Miss, come open this garage door, ma'am, and thank you.
Right.
All right. So I really appreciate y'all. Thank y'all so much. I love y'all, and have a good night, everybody. I hope y'all enjoy.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.